Welcome to episode 28 of the Difference of 13 podcast. My name's Chris.
And I'm Teri.
And we are here to hopefully help you understand how to navigate healthcare by doing things a bit differently, staying healthy, and today, be happy.
Right.
So why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about today?
Talking about how sometimes health issues can cause you to not be happy. And what you do about that, and how to work through that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot about talking about depression. We'll talk. I'll talk personally about my experience with cardiac depression. If it's your first time listening, I had open heart surgery about 2.5 years ago now.
Time flies.
It does. So I'll talk about that and kind of on a personal note, and I actually went through how I handled that, some counseling, and what I learned during that process. And Teri's going to talk just because it was your idea. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make you talk a lot about all that fun stuff too.
Yeah.
So we'll talk different options that potentially may be out there for you, type of professionals you probably should be checking out. But before we get into that, let's ask for some love.
Yes.
Because that makes us happy.
It does make us very happy. 5 stars, please, on whatever podcast platform you use. Thumbs up on YouTube would be great. And I especially like the comments.
Yeah. So any questions, ideas for future episodes, definitely make sure you throw those up there, so we can give you what you want. Give the people what they want,
Exactly. If there's something we're not covering that you want to know about, ask us. We'll be happy to investigate and get back to you.
Definitely. Well, let's get into it. And since it was your idea, I don't want to keep you happy. Let's let you. Why don't you lead it off here?
Well, what kind of started making me think about this is, because I have Ehlers-Danlos, I have chronic pain, and over the years, I've had various doctors suggest antidepressants, and I'm open to. I'll try anything. I'm let's just get this done. That's my attitude. But in talking with other people who have either Ehlers-Danlos or some other kind of chronic pain, some of them get very defensive when the doctor says, here, let's try this antidepressant. They interpret that as the doctor thinks it's all in my head. They think I'm just depressed, what have you. But now I'm not a scientist here, but chemically antidepressants can help with pain. Nerve issues, you can probably explain that way better than I can. Anybody can explain it better than I can. But a doctor prescribing that doesn't necessarily think you're depressed, but the antidepressants can also be used to treat other issues. But also, when you have a chronic illness, chronic pain, something major like heart surgery, it wouldn't be terribly surprising if you did develop a little bit of depression. So would an antidepressant be the worst idea in the world? I feel like we need to get over this stigma of, I take antidepressants, but I don't want anybody to know. That embarrassment.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was, I wasn't, you can be kind of sad, or, actually I'm in the works right now of getting a psychologist on here to talk more in depth. We are not giving advice here on how to handle this. We're going to talk a lot. I'm going to talk a lot from my personal experience. But when we have the doctor on, then they'll do all of that.
Yeah.
That's a big part too, is staying in your lane and what you know and what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, hopefully this will help to give you ideas of people to seek out. This will be one episode. I'm not going to tell you to go see your physical therapist. But, I think with my experience, you have kind of symptoms, and they can be acute and short term, and you can kind of come in and out of them where, you may feel sad, or you may not want to get out of bed. You just kind of want to stay in bed, and maybe life will get better when you wake up. For me personally, I started self-medicating with alcohol a little bit. For me, that was like 2 drinks a night. For other people, it's more. For some people, maybe less. But I had a period where I'd get home, and I don't really normally do that, but it would just I'd have 2 drinks every night and kind of try to forget about stuff. Maybe that's how I coped with it. Until it took me about a year before Lauren got me to actually go talk to somebody. But really, I think there's a stigma. I don't necessarily think about the antidepressants. It's more just like being depressed is like bad. Like be feeling anxious is a bad thing.
If you just tried a little bit harder, you could,
And I think, well,
and that's, depression, it's a chemical process in your brain. And, it's like telling somebody if they have a broken leg, well, if you just tried a little bit harder, you could walk on that broken leg. And that's not true.
Well, I think the first step is to acknowledge that it's going on, and it's a normal feeling sad or, those are feeling anxious. Those are normal feelings. And you need to acknowledge that they're there. The best analogy I had or was given when I was, in, actually call it counseling, I guess, was basically describing anxiety or, anger. Like your feelings are like you're like a toddler, and they want your attention. And so they're tugging at your leg. And if you continue to try to ignore them, they will tug harder and harder. They don't go away.
And they'll whine louder, and
you can try to bury your feelings, and they're still going to be there at the end of the day. And they're probably going to be a little bit worse and cause more issues. Whereas if you acknowledge the kid, say, "What do you want?" "I want a cracker," or "Watch this." And my kids will watch this, and they'll jump, and you say, "That's great," and then they run away and they're good. So if you can acknowledge that uncomfortable feeling, whether the anxiety or sadness, whatever it may be, and then you can. First step is to acknowledge it, and then you can start to deal with it and move on and learn how to live with it. I think, feeling angry or sad or, those are not bad things. Those are normal things as humans that we feel, and we need to acknowledge them. And then you can, move on, I guess.
I think there's this kind of attitude that we should never feel uncomfortable. There should be, we should remove anything that's uncomfortable. And that's not normal human existence.
It's a boring human existence.
Right? There's times that things are uncomfortable. And to me, that's when I grow the most, is when I'm put into a situation where I'm uncomfortable and I have to figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given is you're not doing anything worth doing unless you feel uncomfortable. Building a business, doing a podcast, which you were uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Look how much you love it now. You're coming up with all these topics every week.
I can't say I'm still totally comfortable with it, but it's not.
Guess we got to keep doing it then.
I know.
But I think, acknowledging feelings, and acknowledging that it's okay to be uncomfortable, and and learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay. You go through something dramatic like having your chest cut open. There's going to be some feelings after that. That hits your mortality, because I've thought a lot about that. I've been through numerous surgeries, and I've always taken them fairly well in stride, because it's like, okay, I'm having knee surgery. Worst case, it goes horribly wrong and I can't use my knee. Well, I'm still alive. But with heart surgery, worst case, it doesn't go well and your heart doesn't work.
You're dead.
Game over. There's no... So that is a whole nother level. And especially at your age, that really, you question your mortality, what's going to happen to my children, the things I could potentially miss out on. That's big. It's huge.
Yeah, I think, if you're listening and if you haven't listened to the earlier episodes, so I had open heart surgery when I was 30. My daughter was 8 months old, and my son was 3.
And we had just moved into this brand new space
that we definitely couldn't afford.
No.
And I was producing about 70% of the revenue at that point.
No pressure.
And so I basically found out 30 days beforehand that I was going to need to have open heart surgery. And so, long story short, I had the surgery. And then, after just kind of I think I was back here 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
Probably against doctor's orders.
Against my orders.
I don't listen to you.
No,
just like you don't listen to me.
Right.
It's a mutually accepted relationship.
Yeah.
Part of our relationship. But and that was in August. I probably kind of just through the dealings of life kind of just didn't really think about it, and was until probably January or February, I think, is when it started to kind of hit me. I realized I had started, drinking pretty much every night.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting drunk, but I was getting a buzz on every night. And then it just, I can't remember if it was another 4 to 5 months. That was the time when Lauren had brought up, maybe you should go talk to somebody. And that's weak. I'm strong. I'll be good with it.
I'm a big, strong man. I don't need that.
But in all honesty, I was having issues of, from a self-image standpoint, I couldn't pick up my kids for, 10, 12 weeks because they were there. We have big kids.
Yeah, they're very big.
So, I couldn't pick up as a father. I couldn't pick up my 8-month-old daughter. I couldn't, my son couldn't run and hug me, and I couldn't pick him up and throw him over my head. Those lead to you kind of questioning your quote unquote manliness or
your identity. You're not the same person you used to be.
Right. And I think the challenge for me as I went into that, I felt fine. I didn't have any symptoms. It was needless to say, I had an aneurysm that was about to pop and kill me, but I felt fine. But post-surgically, I felt way worse than I had before surgery. So, I couldn't work out. I was definitely not as strong
why did I do
was.
that?
Yeah. And, on top of it, trying to revive the business. So there was a lot going on in my life, and I'm a good Irish Catholic. We take feelings, we shove them deep down in there, and we close them, lock them, and don't ever talk about them again. So, that was tough for me, for a while. And then I eventually did go to see the psychologist, and that's where we started talking about, well, what does it feel like? 'Cause I started having anxiety kind of issues. I didn't really want to get out of bed very much. And so, it was just, well, what does it feel like when you have that? And it was starting to identify, well, what did I physically, how'd that manifest? What did I feel like?
Right.
And then once I started to understand what I felt like and I could identify it, I wasn't trying to solve it right away. It was just being aware of it, being there. And then it was understanding, well, what sort of things, what causes that? And for me, it was kind of an anxiousness or an anxiety. And everybody has different coping strategies. My coping strategy was become crazy type A and try to organize my life and organize everything.
Yes.
But it was then learning to, understand what anxiety was. And that's worrying about the future. I at the deeper levels was worried I was going to die. Was I going to see my daughter walk down the aisle? Was I going to get that first dance with my daughter? Was I going to see my children graduate college? Or, those were all very real things to me. And this is the first time I've actually said that without getting teary-eyed.
I know. I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Progress. Progress, yeah. But, I started to understand what my anxiety was about. It was about future things that I couldn't control. And when I started to realize that, it was, well, what can I control? I can control how I can't control the future. That's for darn sure. Just like nobody out there can. But you can control how you react to the world and what it throws at you. And for me, I started really looking at what are my values and what intrinsically makes me happy. And that's honestly for Par for Success, where our core values have come from, of, being passionate about, learning and being, doing everything we do with integrity. And really what I found is if I can live my life by doing those things, that makes me happy. I am not worried if something bad happens. I stayed true to myself, and that just is what
you did the best you could.
Yeah. And so then you start to, I'm actually reading a book now, Nate, one of our coaches, gave me, The Subtle Art of Not Giving. I don't know if, can we say the
F word?
The F word. The Subtle Art of Not Giving F word. Basically, the premise is you only have so many craps to give.
Right.
And so, and inherently, Lauren and I had, through the surgery, it was like her favorite saying was, I just don't have the emotional capacity for that stupid stuff right now.
Right.
But I think, at some point, we need to kind of go down that road and figure out what's important, what's not important, what are we going to spend our time worrying about. But that's a lot of the stuff that I learned in the counseling world that has helped me to kind of understand that being anxious and feeling sad, those are normal things. That's okay. It's not to self-shame myself.
Right.
And so for me, I was able to manage that with a lot of counseling. Now, there certainly are cases, and when we have the doctor on, the psychologist, we'll allow them to talk more specifically about the true science of it. But like you mentioned, where there's actually true chemical imbalances. And in those cases, sometimes medication is necessary. And a lot of times it's a combination of counseling as well as the medications. But whatever level, how severe it is or whatever you need to manage it, it's definitely nothing to be embarrassed about.
Well, to me, it's a sign of strength to say, I have this problem, I need to fix it, as opposed to allowing the problem to take you over.
And yeah,
one of the best things, one of my favorite surgeons said to me, and again, yes, I have a favorite surgeon, because I was going through all these surgeries in rapid succession. I was in pain all the time, and I kept saying, I just don't feel like myself anymore. I feel like this has taken over my life. And he said, when you're in chronic pain, it literally changes the chemistry in your brain. And no, you are not the same person you used to be. And I've had to kind of come to grips with that obviously physically I can't do a lot of the things that I used to do. And that was a hard adjustment. But also mentally, I don't think the same way I used to. And I also had to sort of readjust to that. And people around me have had to readjust to that. And it's just the way it is. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm not going to try to change and be somebody that I'm not, pretend to be somebody I'm not, because this is what I've got right now. So like you said, I'm just going to make the best of what I got, and hopefully it's good enough.
Yeah. And I think the things that really helped me to kind of summarize were, there's a lot of stuff online. You can figure out what your core values are. I think a lot of times we judge happiness by, well, how nice is my car?
Right.
Or,
I know have the big house.
Yeah, I know for a time I was, that guy's driving a BMW. Look at that lady in the Mercedes. Wow, they must be really doing well.
Well, for me, it's seeing, on Instagram, people going out and doing these amazing things.
Well, that makes it even worse, right?
Right?
Because nobody posts the sad crap in their life.
They're going skiing. They're going, running on the beach. And
look how healthy and happy and successful.
I'm happy if I can walk on the beach, much less run on the beach.
Well, and that adds to the cycle, right? So you're feeling down. You feel like, maybe you're starting with some negative self-talk. You're asking yourself, some people call them loser questions or weak questions where, well, why me? Well, your brain's going to answer that question and probably in ways that don't make you feel good about yourself. So, as opposed to asking yourself strong questions. And that's what I had to change was instead of saying, why did I have to have this? Nobody else trying to start a business is dealing with this and trying to raise a family and what the hell. And instead it was, well, why not me? What has this given me that allows me in this situation to thrive where others may fail? And asking those kind of strong questions. But that's really tough when you go on social media and everybody's and their mother is happy and go lucky,
magical lives,
making tons of money,
filtered.
But nobody. I think we should open up a Sadagram.
Yeah,
where, everybody posts their sad crap. If you're depressed, go look at that.
This is me laying in bed yet again this weekend because I'm too tired to do anything else.
Right. But I mean, the fact is that is a challenge.
Reality.
That's a reality that we need to face if you are feeling that way, that maybe you make a conscious decision not to go look at that stuff. Or find the one account where they're worse off than you. Maybe that makes you feel better. I don't know.
I love the ones where they post this is me with no makeup. This is me, with the sweaty hair and a ponytail after working out, as opposed to the, poised models and who've airbrushed their makeup on. I want to see real people doing real things.
Yeah. Well, and I think, one of the big things I learned when I was in counseling was there's all these external factors that a lot of people will use to judge success and happiness, whether it's cars or house or, how nice is your six pack or how good do you look in a bikini or, but at the end of the day, what really matters is those internal, factors. And for me, passion, learning, integrity, growth, those are the ones that for me, if I'm hitting those, I'm the happiest. And understanding that now, I don't have the same feelings that I used to when I see somebody driving around in a beautiful car and I'm in my, I don't even know how old my Mazda is right now, but she's
got character.
She's mature, but instead of judging myself based off something external, that really the person driving that nice car could be in a buttload of debt.
Right. They could be really miserable.
Yeah, they could be absolutely miserable.
They could be working a job they absolutely despise to pay for that car.
Yeah. So it's just shifting your frame of mind in terms of what are the things that you are going to take control of in your life to make yourself happy. What are your markers of success? And everybody's are going to be different. Everybody's happiness markers are going to be different. And challenge yourself to live towards those. But if you are struggling with that, definitely would recommend, probably the first step would be talking to your primary care.
Right.
This is more of a medical issue a lot of the times, and they can direct you, or you go to a psychologist or, somebody in that field to give you some guidance in terms of where to go.
Yeah, because there's lots of good options out there now. It's not always just, here's a pill or, you're destined to live this way forever. I mean, I've had friends who've struggled with depression at various points in their lives, and they work through it, and they could be depression-free for years, or maybe it comes back. But at least they have tools to recognize signals before it gets too bad. Miraculously, that's one thing I haven't had to really deal with. I've had enough other things, but I don't think I've ever been truly depressed, like clinically depressed. I think I get frustrated, and I definitely get sad at times that I can't do the things that I want to do. And there is that distinction between, we all have not just bad days, but we go through bad periods in our life, and that doesn't necessarily mean true clinical depression.
Right.
That's normal. So don't try to self-medicate or even clinically medicate for that. Just recognize sometimes we feel bad, and that's okay.
Right. And it's okay to go get help. And I never was truly clinically depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I had moments where I was probably more towards that end of the spectrum, but yeah, it's okay to go. It's strong to go and ask for help. It's hard, and to be able to do that, that's good. I think it's interesting as you think like building a business, a multi-billion-dollar business is really hard. Playing in the NFL is really hard.
No, it's not.
It is.
Okay, yeah, maybe a little bit.
It's actually really hard. But playing professional sports is really hard. But a lot of those hard things, everybody thinks of like, wow, the people that do those are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Being a stay-at-home mom is really hard. People don't give them enough credit. Having depression or being sad and going and seeking out help and admitting that you do, that's really hard. Having an addiction and, like alcoholism or going to AA, like that's hard. But people, I think with those different buckets, don't necessarily get the shout outs and the respect that they deserve.
People are like, well, just, what's wrong with you that you're depressed? Well, I'm depressed. That's what's wrong. And I'm going to get it fixed.
Well, that's not necessarily wrong.
Right.
That's not wrong. That's your state at that point.
Right.
And you have, hopefully with the help, you can change that. And you can change. You always have the ability to control how you respond to what the cards you've been dealt, to the environment around you. That is the one thing that you will always have control of, unless 99% of people. Some people, extreme cases, maybe not. But most of you listening to this have the ability to respond or control how you respond to what is thrown at you in life.
Right. Because yeah, you're right. You never know what's coming down tomorrow, and you can't let yourself worry about that too much, because you have to deal with what you've got at the time, and
you've only got so many craps to give.
Right.
So,
and I don't give too many of them.
Neither do I. So I hope you got something out of that today. That if you have any questions at all, definitely reach out. I'm always happy to talk about my personal experience. I want to reiterate, we are not mental health professionals. We're simply just sharing our experiences. I'm sharing what I've learned from a mental health professional. This is not meant to substitute for you going to chat with somebody about that. And we will be bringing on an actual mental health professional to answer, we'll talk more in depth about the specifics of this, and hopefully answer even more questions for you. So I really appreciate you listening and hanging with us today. Please, 5 stars wherever you're listening, 2 thumbs up if you're on YouTube watching us. Any way that we can help you, please put down the comments. Let us know.
Share your story, what's happened to you. I think the more people are willing to open up and share their stories, the more others will either see something in them that says, you know what, I'm having that same experience. I need to do something about this, or have the confidence to also, the more we talk about it, the less it's going to be like this taboo, bad thing that we shouldn't discuss. It happens.
Appreciate you hanging out with us, and we will see you on the flip side.
Bye.